Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're watching us from. It's yet another exciting Monday where we are seated here, as always, manning the city gate to ensure that our gates are manned. And our focus and our interest has always been the man. We're always very excited to see a strong man, because we know when a man is a strong man, we have a strong society and we have strong families. And I am joined by my usual suspects. One of them didn't show up, but hopefully will be joining us next week, Reverend Gigi. But on my right,
the undisputed Willie Kinyash.
Willie Kinyash.
Yes.
Himself. Thank you very much.
He's here. Alisema hata tumana. Akajileta mwenyewe.
The marriage counselor.
Yes.
Himself.
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Yes.
And on my left
is Bernard Waroe.
The Reverend.
Himself. The mentor and the author.
The mentor and the author.
He is here to ensure that mentorship is happening.
The only one that is allowed to use those two titles.
Two titles.
Yes.
None other.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Karibu sana.
Great.
Today we are handling a very interesting and exciting topic. Yeah. And today we are not on our Facebook platform. You'll kindly bear with us. We will be on our YouTube platform. But we're excited. Please tell someone to join us. And we're always very excited to see you joining us. And we are handling a very interesting and exciting topic. It's a challenging one also. But I believe that we will learn a number of things. So, our topic today is fatherhood. I think let me start with the left.
Yes.
Reverend.
Yes.
What is fatherhood?
Wow. That's a huge question. And it's a question that cannot be answered with a single statement, but requires quite a number of things to be broken down to get to that level. But I think when we are talking about fatherhood, it is important for us to add a line that many people think that fatherhood is reproduction. That being a father is being able to reproduce, get something or some planet. But that is not what fatherhood is. Fatherhood is bringing forth destiny, bringing forth purpose, and ensuring that that destiny and that purpose gets to its topmost level. And therefore, it is bringing a child or bringing up a child, whether you have birthed that child biologically or not, but taking responsibility of a child and the destiny and the purpose of God for that child, and ensuring that that becomes that there is the manifestation of that destiny, and that nothing prevents that purpose from being fulfilled. So it's quite huge, and cannot be defined by one statement, but I would say that.
Okay.
I would talk about destiny and purpose, and being able to commit yourself to responsibly ensure that this child who is looking up to you and whom you are looking at as a father comes to that level where they actualize their destiny and fulfill their purpose.
Wow. And he says that fatherhood is not just about reproduction.
It is not. It is more than that.
Reproduction is part of it?
Yes. I'm saying it is more than that. Because I want to start by saying when you're being called a father, you need to ask yourself this question. Why am I being called a father? Because you cannot be called a father just for the sake of being called a father. A father is someone who is responsible. And so being a father is not just bringing forth a child here on earth, but it is more of taking care of that kid. And so if you're a father out there and you're not responsible enough, I can stand in front of this camera and say straight facing you that you do not deserve to be called a father.
You are sitting. You said I can stand in front of the camera.
Do you want me to stand?
No.
This guy can stand.
I stand in front of.
I said I can stand, but I am sitting down. But I can stand.
Okay.
You see? And so, when we talk about a father, it is not just a male figure. No, because even that boy who is 2 years old is a male, and that is why we and being a male is just a gender, just to differentiate the gender. The women, they are females. The male, they are the male, yes, men are male. So it is gender to differentiate the gender. You see, and so all of us
main prisons that found at least 46% of all inmates were fatherless or came from broken families.
So 46% of the inmates, all inmates,
yes, were fatherless.
46%
were fatherless or came from broken families.
So the father figure plays a big role.
A very big role. He says, research say fathers should be made aware of the detrimental consequences of their absence. And that is what we are here to talk about.
Yes.
That some of the troubles we have in this country, some of the crimes that are being committed, and I can speak about this without any fear of contradiction, that some of the fires that we are fighting in our schools are not to be blamed on the children who are in schools, who abdicated. Because when you take up your fatherhood responsibility, you become a father. When you abdicate your duty as a father, you become just another male. There are many who have abdicated that duty. And these children are growing alone. They do not have fathers who can show them the way. You know, the Bible talks about Abraham, and I'll read a verse here.
Yes.
Today we will even read the Bible, because the Bible talks about Abraham in Genesis chapter 18 and should be verse 19. The Bible says, for I have chosen him that he may command his children. It is the father's responsibility to command his children and his household after him. So he is a role model. He is commanding them after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing righteousness and justice, so that the Lord may bring to Abraham what he has promised. So when we see men and women who are not following righteousness, who are not following justice, who are not walking in the ways of the Lord, there is a very great chance that it is a father who abdicated the duty of commanding those children to walk in righteousness, to walk in the way of the Lord. So when we see fires in schools, when we see robberies happening, when we see killings happening, the probability is quite high. To almost 50%, we are being given 46%, that this is coming by because there is a father
figure
missing somewhere. There is a male who was supposed to fill a gap and become a father, and they did not. And therefore, societal issues can be resolved to almost 50. Imagine if crime went down by 50%. Simply because men came up and became the fathers they ought to be.
The males transformed to be fathers.
Yes, and they took up their fatherhood responsibilities and did what needs to be done. We would be living in a good country.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So, Willie.
Yes.
I'm wondering, based on what Reverend is saying, do we have men that are what you would call, they're present, and I think you touched a bit of that.
Yes.
Not only providing, you talked about them missing.
Yes, yes.
But they are physically present. I have kids that I'm bringing out, but I'm not fathering them.
Yes.
So do we have men like that?
Yeah, they are there, and that's
what about absent. Now I'm talking about the father is there. He's not an uncle per se.
Yes.
Lakini askiki sana.
Askiki.
Yeah.
The voice cannot be heard. And I want to say this. When you don't understand who you are, this can happen. And this is whereby you'll find in a family setup, a father who is supposed to be a leader, a father who is supposed to show the direction, he is failing from showing direction. And so the children, they are there and they cannot listen to their father. Why? Because he is present, he is there, but he doesn't have a voice. Are you getting me?
Yeah.
And the reason why he is not having this voice, it is because one, he has not really understood who he is. Because at the first point, you must understand that you are the leader. You are the person who is supposed to voice. Your voice needs to be heard in this family. And and I want to speak to men out there, especially those who are not married and they want to enter into family. This thing called family is not a try and error thing. You don't enter today and you try to watch and nione venye kuna kuaga nikiona ni kunoma niende zangu. And so a number of such men who are present but they cannot be heard. One, you probably I'm not saying
probably,
I'm saying probably. Some of them they had this notion of try and error.
Wacha niingie
nijaribu nione. And so they realize, this thing is not working out. But now because nilijaribu, nilijiingiza kwa hii.
Kuna watoto.
So wacha tu nikae, wacha kasonge venye katasonga. And so he's just there, but he cannot speak out. And so we need to understand who we are. We need to understand why has God called us to be fathers in these families. It is because there are some responsibilities that God himself has given us as men. And so we need to be present, and as we are present, we also need to voice out, we need to speak out, we need to know that we are the people who are giving these children, who are giving these women direction. This is the way to follow. Let me tell you something.
Yes, please.
When you understand who you are, you'll find that mostly in a family, man, they would say that man is supposed to be the priest in the family.
Yes.
And you might find you have married a woman who is more grown spiritually than you.
More mature.
Yes. And so if you don't understand your position, you might find yourself you are shying away when it comes to the matters of spirituality. Because your wife, maybe she's a pastor and you uko chini yake.
Elder.
Unaona?
Church elder.
But what happens when you understand who you are, you need to take your rightful position and play the role that you're supposed to play. This is whereby you can come in as a man and give the responsibility to this woman. And you tell her, I am, as the man of this house, I want you to lead this fellowship for 5 minutes. You see, she's the one who is a pastor, but now you are the one as the head. You are the one who is telling her what to do. And so right there, you have played your role. You see? And so as we are present, we need to understand who we are so that we can be able to do the right things. Otherwise, if we don't, we are going to fail. We'll be there, lakini hakuna kitu inafanyika, hakuna kitu inaendelea. And so this is whereby you'll find some kids now, because hata watoto wameangalia wameona huu mzae ni yako milio huyu, so they'll go to ask vitu kwa mama yao.
Mother,
you see? And so the mother is asking
asking, it's okay.
Not asking, acting.
Oh, acting.
Acting.
And so you'll find the mother now is acting as a father and as a mother.
And the father is there.
And the father is present. The father is there. These are the kind of men you'll find. The man is waking up, the woman is waking up very early in the morning to go anaenda kutafutia watoto and leaves this man sleeping. Hata hezi mtoa nje. Mama anatoka 5 hata hawezi mfikisha na hapo achukue mat. Anamwambia jipange eda. And this woman will come back anapata jamaa bado wako kwa kitanda. So he is there He's present. Hata haendagi hata hacheleagwi. Wacha hawa tulikuwa tunasema wanakujaga saa 8. He is ever present. He is ever present. But his presence cannot be felt. Why? Because he has not really understood who he is.
So he has departed from his fatherhood position.
Yes. Okay. He has lost it. He is not there. And so it is sad. And that is why tonight we have come to talk about this. And this is a huge discussion. We cannot finish it in one show. And so we must continue until we understand. If we want to man the city gates, it all starts here from the fatherhood. We understand who we are as the fathers.
Wow. Wow. Reverend.
Yes.
Willy leo
amewaka.
So there's something I'm hearing him saying.
Yes.
He's talking about men that have abdicated their role of fatherhood.
Yes.
Just like there is the priesthood, there is the fatherhood.
Yeah.
And as I had mentioned earlier, I was breaking this word into two. There is the father
and the hood.
And the hood.
Yeah.
Hood ni sisi wote.
Yeah.
Na kuna the father. So what is the role of the father? And what is the role of the hood?
What is the role of the father and what is the role of the hood? So the role of the father is to be
those two words?
Well, we could join them, but the role of the father is to father the hood, and the role of the hood is to submit to the fatherhood of the father. Because basically, I know we'll get a time to talk about the roles of the father, but what you are saying is that the father fathers the hood, and the hood submits
to the fatherhood,
to the authority, I would say, to the fatherhood authority of the father. So they're staying under the protection, under the umbrella of this father. But I can tell you that people will only sit under a certain covering because they know that they are saved. They know that that covering is providing them what it ought to be providing. And what Willie is saying is very true, because fatherhood is about intentionality. It is about being intentional and understanding what needs to be done and doing it.
Wow.
What needs to be done
not only
and doing it. Not only understanding. You understand what needs to be done and you go a step further and do it. And you need to be very intentional in it. And I always break intentionality into 3 sections. After you have understood what needs to be done, you resolve within your heart that I must do this. And after you've resolved in your heart, you must plan. How are you going to do it? How, it doesn't happen as a by the way. No, fatherhood does not happen as a by the way, and it's not child play. He said it's not trial and error. It's not child play.
It's not oops.
Yes, it's not child play. And if there is a young man out there who thinks that he can father a child, they need to think twice. And they need to understand that this is not child play. It's not something that you just come in and do with ease. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of energy. It takes intentional planning. And after you have planned, you must be able to execute. It takes a lot of compromises, a lot of sacrifices to be made. Sometimes you have to give up your ambitions. You have to give up visions that you held dear. You have to give up careers. Sometimes you have to give up adventures that you would want to take for the sake of being a father. There is something that I've always said, and I've always said, I say it without fear of contradiction, that it is possible for your spouse to get another spouse. But it is not possible for your children to get another father like you are their father. And therefore, when God gives you the responsibility, the stewardship responsibility of being a father, you must take it very seriously. And you must know it is almost irreplaceable. It is like if you are not doing it, nobody is doing it. If you're not doing it, nobody is doing it. And therefore you must do it. And therefore a father must do what must be done. So he must resolve in his heart. Of course, we've said number 1, understand what fatherhood entails. Because it's not just something out there. You don't and don't allow society to define for you what fatherhood is. Don't just come in and do it as a by the way. Equip yourself. Learn what fatherhood demands for you. For you to be like Abraham, who is being blessed because God knows he will command his household to walk in righteousness before God. it is not something that just comes naturally. It is something that you have to put effort to run, to understand what it is. After you've understood, resolve within your heart, I will be a father. After you have resolved, plan how you will be that father. How will you be present? How will you role model? How will you provide? How, because you know they are also very toxic fathers. Their children.
Before I come to that, allow me to add something as Rev was talking about. And you know, at times, especially the church people.
You're dead.
Yes,
So
you are
you're
dead, but you remain.
Yes?
You stop being the father.
You don't stop. No.
But you're not living.
In their lives, you will still remain the father.
As the, you see,
that's controversial.
No, it
you
is
see, we are
not.
talking about fatherhood responsibility.
Yes.
There is no way a dead person will continue carrying on their fatherhood responsibility.
Now, listen to what I'm saying. My point here is, the moment you are a father or you have fathered a child, you remain to be the father the rest of your life. Even after this,
the rest of your life is okay.
Even after this life, you remain to be the father of that child. Even if you are gone, you remain to be the father. And that is why you will find the name will remain. If alikuwa Wilson Kenyajui Kiarie, it will remain to be Kiarie. My surname will remain Kiarie, though Kiarie is gone. He is no longer living.
No,
I'm giving an example.
No, we'll talk about that because, we'll talk about that because I know he was answering the question he was answering. Because there's in a scenario where a father has died, like you were saying, there is a need for that gap to be filled. Exactly. But let him finish about the separation.
And we are coming there.
Yeah.
We are coming there.
Yeah.
And so you remain to be the father of these children. And so what now you need to do, you need to have an agreement. As the parents, the mother and the father, you need to have an agreement. And maybe you can decide, have gone our different ways, but now there is a kid here, we need to raise her, we need to raise him. And so you can decide, as the father, I'm away, but what I'll be doing, I'll be paying the school fees, I'll be sending the money for the food and all that. And so there must be an agreement, and this must be between now the father and the mother. Because and maybe now we might come to a point now, and maybe you can ask, what about if the woman decides
to get married?
Not even to get married. Mimi sitaki msaada yako.
Yeah, by the way, now what happens?
Niko sawa nimejiweza.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
I'm fine. I'm okay. You see? And we need to differentiate here, because there are some men, there are some fathers who will be happy to run away from the responsibility. But as a responsible father, you need to go there and say, I need and I must take care of my kids. You see? And so this father who is saying, I must take care of my kids, and the other one who will say, ni sawa, wacha ajipange. There is different, because this one shows I am responsible. Though she's saying I am okay, I still insist as a father, I want to take care of my children. And so we need, and then there's this issue of what you've talked about. Maybe the woman decides to get married. And this is where I said, this child still remains to be your child. Wewe ndiye baba yake. Even if the mother aolewe mahali kwingine, haibadiliki, that will not change. That is a fact. You remain to be the father. And so you can decide, because this is my child, this is my son, this is my daughter, I'll continue taking care of him as a person. And so maybe you can decide, I'm the one who will be taking care of his school fees. Though the father can take care of the other kids when you atapata na this woman. But my child, I'm the one who is going to take care of him. I'm the one who is going to take care of her. But now here, we need to be very mature so that we can come together and have an agreement. Because without an agreement, then we'll have problem and there will be chaos. So we must be mature and we must come into agreement.
Wow. Reverend, tusome messages.
Yeah, so
we have not.
we don't have. I think we are sorry that we've had some technical issues. I can see quite a number of people saying that things are dropping, but I hope we are good now. You can always let us know.
Okay.
So Kevin Karaja nafuatilia kutoka Kayore, and then a few people who had issues with the streaming. So yeah.
Okay.
You can see Jane Nyambura is here, Joseph Muigai, Nikodan Kabisa, Mary Bernard. I hope things are good now.
Okay.
Rashida Miato is locked from Odero. Edwin Megwe is telling Wiri that is very true. Samekan GA is tuned in. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And so Anthony Saint,
Oh.
he is also tuned in.
Wow.
Yeah, he was the very first
Oh,
person.
he's the one who was asking whether are the gate men.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Reverend.
Yes.
Thank you for reading the messages. But as Willie is saying, I'm looking at a scenario whereby we have a family. I have a family.
Yeah.
I'm married. But by chance, or by whatever chance, good or bad luck,
Yeah.
I went outside there and got a baby
Yes.
outside there. How should or would I play the role of a father, or what is expected of that kid
Yeah.
out there?
Yeah. I think several things.
I know it's a tricky.
Yes.
it's
I
a
know.
very tricky question.
Number one, before you engage in an act that could produce a human being, think twice.
Say that again.
Before you involve yourself in an act that could produce a human being, think twice. Know that you are not only taking responsibility of the pleasure from the act, you are also taking responsibility of the fruits that could be birthed out of the act. And you cannot now start saying that if I become responsible here, it will interfere with the relationship of my wife, it will interfere with my children. You should know before. I wanted to say something crude. But
No, you can't say it.
before you get in there, think about all those things. Because the moment a child is birthed, and that child carries your DNA, you are responsible. And you cannot use any excuse to be absent in the life of that child. You cannot use the excuse of being married. If you married, what were you doing going in there and getting a child? So you cannot use that excuse to run away from responsibility. You cannot use the excuse that you have the children you're taking care of. So as long as a child has come, and I want to speak to men who have children who carry their DNA, but they don't know what that child is eating tonight. You are the most irresponsible man in this planet. And you should be shame. Shame on you.
Shame on
Yes,
themselves.
you should be shameful of yourself. Because how does God give you a privilege? Because the act was sinful. But the product was a product of God's divine discretion and decision, because God can decide you will do it, and there are people who keep doing it, and
Nothing
sorry,
happens.
and I'm saying it with a lot of humility, and nothing happens. But God decided, no matter where you are, whether you are in the am I getting graphic? Whether you are in the car or you are in the boot or wherever you are, God by his in the boot, wherever, God decided by his divine discretion that out of that act a child will be born, and God holds you responsible, and so you must take responsibility, and you must find ways and means of being in the life of that child, and not only, even, you know, he is talking about sending fees. A father not only gives gifts to his children, the first thing he does is that he gives himself. You know, even the Bible says that for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. He gave himself to us out of loving us as his children. A father is not about giving gifts, it's about giving himself. That before that child experiences your gifts, let them experience you. Let them experience you. And therefore I would say every man must take responsibility. You must give yourself to that child. You must be there for that child. You must role model for that child. That child must know that I have a father whom I can look up to and desire to be like. That father must find identity. It's very wrong for a child who carries your DNA to go to school and hear all other kids talking about their fathers and go back home and start giving stress to their mother, asking, where is my father? Shame on you.
Okay.
Shame on them.
Yes.
Undisputed.
Yes.
I'm still stuck at the shame. On that.
Yes. No.
Before you do it, think twice.
Think twice.
Think twice.
Think twice.
But now my other question is, your father has, for some reason, left the world. Or, because you remember I talked about the father and the hood.
Yes, yes.
Yeah? Now I'm talking about the hood.
Yes.
Yeah? Your father has left the picture. Of course, we've said what the father should do.
Yeah.
And definitely, this show, we have just, what do you call it? Tunapitia tu juu.
We are
laying a foundation.
We are laying a foundation,
Yes.
we'll get deeper. So, the father has passed on, or is not responsible, and I'm not being fathered. How do I get a father?
Yes.
How do I, or as a lady, a single woman, how do you ensure that your father, that your son is fathered, or your daughter is fathered?
Now, this is where now we need to, again, to speak to women. And I want to appreciate all women out there who act as fathers and the mothers. We salute you from the city gate. You help us to man the city gates. Thank you very much. We honor you and we respect you for that. But now, as a woman, now you need to look for a man who can come in, who can step in and nurture these children. Because no matter how you try, there are some things you cannot be able to do for them. There are some talks you cannot be able to have with them. And so you need to look for a father figure. And when we are talking of a father figure, we must look for men who have a good reputation. And I think this is something I always insist as I am talking to women who are looking for father figures. You need to bring in a man who have a good reputation. If you don't know, or if you're not sure about their reputation, you better leave it. Because you might bring in a man who might bring more trouble to these children. So you need to ask yourself, as a mother, the man I am about to bring into the lives of these kids, how is he out there? How is his character? How does he handle women? Because again, you might bring in a man who belittles women, that when he comes to the lives of these children, they will start even belittling you. They will start seeing you like and so this man who is coming as a father figure to them, how does he see women? You see? And so there's a great homework that needs to be done by a woman who is looking for this person who is coming in to fill in the gap. Because the moment the father is gone, the moment the father is not there, there is a vacuum space that has been left, and this vacuum space must be filled in, and this vacuum space will be filled in by another man who will come now and act as a father figure to these children. And this is the world will call them the godfathers. They will come and step in and start acting like the fathers to these children. But now there is a big task ahead of this woman, because she needs to understand what kind of a man am I bringing to the lives of these children. And also one, maybe you can look for their uncle who is close to them, wanaskizana, that that he'll be able to, that the kids will be able to open up to him and they can share their issues with him. You can also look maybe for a male figure that you respect you as a person, as a woman. You bring in him into this kids' lives. But we need to be very careful there because again, you might bring in a man who might now start thinking there is a way you see me, and so he starts taking advantage of that. Nini?
What is this way that you see me?
Yeah, what I'm saying, the moment you have taken this friend, a male friend, whom one for you, maybe this is someone you respect. You go in the same church, and so you respect him. You have looked at him, and you see he has a good reputation. Maybe you see the way he's raising his kids, and maybe this man now start thinking. I'm putting it into quotes, assuming maybe there is something this woman
has seen in.
Yes. So aanze kupita njia za mikato sasa.
You
see?
Okay.
Ni kama sasa anataka kusema by the way, as I mentor this kids,
you're in the hood.
So yes, so we need to be very careful when women are looking for friends who can come in and step in as the father figures to their children.
Yeah, and I think I can add to what really has
yes, please. Yes, please.
And what I would say is that the first place to go, is within the family. Because of that, I think it's very important that you only go out of the family if you are unable to get somebody within the family who can take up that task. Because even other than all these things, there is the kind setting.
Yeah.
My father's brothers are my father.
Yes.
My mother's brothers are like my father. So when I go to an uncle to my children or to a father who is a brother to their father, there is some strength that comes with, and number two, there is some security it gives me in line with what he is saying. But the second thing that I would say is that okay, I'll say three things. The second thing that I would say is to tell women with a lot of respect that it is impossible for a woman to father a child.
Okay.
There is no woman who is a father to a child. And therefore, it is important for women who have children, and either they are single mothers or they are widows, and they can never fill the gap. I see sometimes women celebrating Father's Day and saying that and I'm saying this with a lot of respect, that we who are mothers and fathers, it is impossible for you to be a father to your children because God created us different. He wired us differently. He gave us different roles and responsibilities in the lives of the children. And therefore, if you are a woman, don't try to take the responsibility of a father. Seek God to guide and help you to have a man. It is only a man who can be a father. A woman cannot be a father. So seek God to help you in terms of who can take up the fatherhood responsibility in the life of that child. The third thing that I wanted to say, Willie has said that the woman has a huge responsibility.
Yes.
I agree. But I would like to also throw some responsibility to men. That we as men must also position ourselves, and in our position as responsible fathers, identify gaps that God may be speaking to us to fill in. There could be gaps in our neighborhoods. You know, you actually could have a neighbor who, there's a man in the house, but he does not father the children.
Not a father, yeah.
But these are kids who like coming and playing with your kids. They like coming into your house. And you can see there is a fatherhood gap. I think it behoves on you to take up the responsibility and fill the gap. Your sister may lose the husband. Your brother may pass away. Or you may have a sister who have got kids out of wedlock. And the men who sired the kids are not willing to take responsibility. As a man who fears God and a man who knows what fatherhood means in the life of a child, you can rise up to the occasion and say, I'm going to fill this gap. I'm going to do the work of God. I'm going to serve God and to become a father to this child. Sometimes even in the church as ministers, we'll identify children there and we can tell this child has fatherhoods. You know, there's a child you talk to and you realize they are fatherhoods. There are woods they have that have been inflicted
by the father,
by errors of commission or omission by the father. You should be able to take up responsibility. Sometimes when a woman has lost a husband, the things that are going through the mind of that woman are so many, getting a father figure might be the last thing they want to think about. Where maybe the father was the sole breadwinner. There are people who want to take away the properties that they had accumulated.
So they're fighting.
They're fighting. She is in court. She might not have time maybe to think of who will be a father figure. But you as a man who is a responsible father can identify that gap and say, I'm filling this gap. I'm taking responsibility. I'm rising to the occasion and intentionally fathering these children even before the mother identifies who can come in there.
But also there, we also need to be very careful that as this man is coming in to mentor this, let me use the word mentoring these children, you also need to be in agreement with your wife.
Yes, yes.
Because your wife might also start thinking, oh, sasa uliona nani alikufa, sasa unapotelea huko.
We walk in the light.
Yes.
We walk in the light. There is communication. And yes, your wife should be.
So you should not go out there and make decision alone and say, now from today, I am going to mentor these kids. You need to have a sitting with your wife and discuss. And your wife, if your wife is okay, then you can go ahead. But before you are in agreement, this again now might bring problem into your own family now. So we need to be very careful. Kwako unaacha kunachomeka.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
I think wisdom.
Yes. Yes.
Wisdom must be applied. Yes.
Now I think we will close with this as we come to a close. And I don't know how to start this. In church, spiritual fathers.
Yes.
How do I identify a spiritual father? That's number one.
Yeah.
And do we have fathers that are actually not fathers?
Okay, the last one we will answer.
Yes, it's okay. I will answer. I'm ready.
I think it's easy to identify spiritual fathers because a father births, a father nurtures, and a father facilitates growth and facilitates achievement of destiny. So the question you should be asking yourself, who birthed you in the faith? Who is this person who brought you to the faith? And when they brought you to the faith, they nurtured you. Or who is this person who nurtures you in the faith? Who is this person who helps you grow in the faith? And personally, I would prefer using, I know spiritual fathers is a term that has come with so many connotations, but you could use the term like my father in the faith, because who nurtures you in the faith? Who helps you? Who helps bring out that destiny, that purpose within you? There is a man. There is a man that God has set up in your life, who nurtures you, who brings out that, and you feel that when I look at this person, I see a father. I see somebody who acts as a father in my spiritual growth and my spiritual life. And so it should not be very hard, but it doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be, you don't need to adore people. You don't need to take it to a level, I know people talk about loyalty and all those things. You don't take it to a level where it becomes like worship, or it becomes like enslavement, where sons have to be subject to fathers and do certain things. It's important for us to honor fathers in the faith. And it is not difficult to identify who your father is in the faith. But I think with what I have seen, there's need for a lot of moderation. Yes. So that it doesn't overtake the people who obey the spiritual fathers more than the Holy Spirit.
And some women who obey their spiritual fathers than their husbands.
I heard in another show that if a woman is submitting to you as a pastor,
he's a thief.
I don't want to go into that.
Okay. Willie, as you close.
Yes.
Do you have fathers that are actually not fathers?
Yes. A father is someone who celebrates their children. And so, if you have a father who cannot celebrate what you're doing, then he's not a father. So, in the real sense, he might be called a father, but he's not. Because as a father, when you see your son doing something great than even what you're doing, you should celebrate them.
The ones that were used to beat whip sin out of us and indiscipline out of us.
Those are real fathers.
They are fathers.
Yeah, so he's not celebrating you and beating you up.
But you see now, he's correcting you. But again, there is something I always tell people. When you're correcting someone, let them know that you are correcting them. Because I have said there is difference between punishment and correction. And so we need to make a distinguishment here. That
distinction.
Distinguish. Yes, we need to distinguish.
Distinction.
We need to we need to distinguish. We must distinguish between correction and punishment. And so he is not punishing you, he is correcting you. And so what I'm saying is they, in a way, they are showing you the right way to follow. That is why they are doing that. But now, as I was talking about not celebrating, like for example, this is your pastor, and maybe the way he does ministry, wewe umeanza ministry ingine, umetokelezea huko nje, you are being called for this revival there, and now instead of this father celebrating the work you are doing, they start fighting you. Now that is not a father, because a father must celebrate their children. There is, let me tell you, I am a father. When I see my daughters doing great things, I celebrate them. I congratulate them. I tell them, keep going. You are doing good. Because I am the number one person who should celebrate them. Before their teachers comes in to celebrate them, before their uncles and their aunties comes in to celebrate them, I am number one. I am right there to tell them, keep it up. And when they do something wrong, I am still number one to tell them, this is not right. Please, you need to correct this. We need to correct here and here. But when you go this way, you are doing good.
Wow.
So fathers, they should celebrate their children.
Wow. Now, Reverend,
Yes.
I don't know whether to stick on this topic about fathers, because I remember like last week someone told me about someone who was doing very well in ministry, was a son, was not interested. Actually, watu walimpenda, washirika walimpenda, but the father saw competition, akamfukuza from that church, and by God's grace he went and started another church, and God's favor was on this man. But tunaona there was the first one that that he was sent away, chased away. So in this scenario, who is it, the son who has an issue? I didn't submit properly, or is this the father who doesn't do what Willie is saying, celebrating the son?
Yeah, it could be either way. Issues of ministry are thick, and we might not exhaust them, but it could be either way. It could be either way, because there is need for, like you're saying, for submission. There is need for moderation, and however gifted I am, I should never despise my father. However gifted I am, even if members are throwing all the accolades to me, I should never despise my father. I should never despise my father. But there could also be an issue of the father being insecure.
Insecure, yeah.
And therefore being hasty, lest this guy becomes more famous than them. And that is a very negative trait of a father. So it could be either way. But if you ask me, is that as in ministry, you know, we've now come to another area.
Yeah, I really wanted to
if you could ask me,
avoid.
if you could ask me, I think there's a huge demand on sons to apply a lot of wisdom on how they deal with their fathers. Because the fathers have a way of blessing. You know, Jacob is blessing. You know, Isaac is blessing. So a father has a way of blessing, and there is a blessing that a father releases. And so if there are compromises that I can make, if I can be a little bit patient, if I can slow down on certain things, not to be disrespectful to my father, to a reasonable level, I would rather. And then get to a level where my father can send me away in peace, or my father can bless me as I go out. So I would lay
maybe before you continue, maybe I can ask. I want to ask you a question right there. Yes. What if now this son comes to ask the father to release them, and the father refuses?
I was coming there because I've talked about two things. I've said that it could be the issue of the son. That is now what I'm addressing now.
You should have let him
or
finish.
It could be the issue of the insecurity of the father.
Okay.
So, but I'm simply saying, even if, and I would talk even to children. I would talk even to children who have fathers. You know, you've talked to fathers. Even your father could be toxic. Could be this father who never helped you. Could be this father who was never there when you were growing up and everything. That does not give you an excuse. You know, when the Bible gives us a responsibility, it does not give us responsibility that are conditioned on the reaction of the other person. When the Bible says forgive, it is not conditions on how the other person behaves. When the Bible says honor your father and your mother, it is not conditions on the behavior of your father or your mother. So whether your father is toxic, whether your father is absent, whether your father is not a good role model, the Bible demands that you honor them.
It is a command.
And conditional. It is not conditioned on their behavior. And I would say the same thing even when it comes to the church and ministry issue, that I must show reasonable honor. I must do as much as I can to show honor to my spiritual father, to my father in the faith, as much as I can. Like he is saying, even biological fathers, there are times you may go to them and tell them, I want to do this, and they curse you instead of blessing you. And there's something, there are people who've married, personally I have been involved in a wedding that was joined with the father outside the church rejecting and saying, this wedding will not be done. But we did it because it was unreasonable.
Yes.
It was very unreasonable, and it's the same thing. So if the son goes to the father, and sometimes you could even use proxies. That father has also fathers. You know, there's a place we were asking who fathers the father.
Yes.
Every father ought to have a father. That father has also fathers. As a son, I would seek with humility to get the releasing and the blessings of my father. Whether I'll go through proxies, whether I'll approach his father or whoever else. Of course, if he becomes too toxic and refuses, and I've done my best, then I think I'm free to go.
Okay.
But I've done my best. Yes.
Your last words as we close.
Wow, fatherhood is deep. We'll get deeper on this. But I think what I would say is that for each and every person, for each and every man, please take your possession of fatherhood and let nothing, don't sacrifice your fatherhood responsibility on any altar. Whether it's on the altar of career, whether it's on the altar of ministry. I must repeat that. You should not sacrifice your fatherhood responsibility on the altar of ministry, on the altar of academic progression, on the altar of pursuing your hobbies and ambitions. Do not sacrifice. Sometimes it's the ego. Sometimes it's because I can't either this woman. No, don't sacrifice your fatherhood responsibility on any altar. On any altar.
Yeah.
God is holding you responsible. And it is unto God. God is holding you responsible. He will not listen to any excuse.
No,
rise up, be the father that you ought to be.
Amen. Don't sacrifice your fatherhood on any altar. Your last words.
I'll end by saying, as men out there, let us man up and let us stop making innocent kids to suffer. Kids who did not write letters to come into this world, but two mature human beings decided to go somewhere make some love, and this kid was produced,
Really?
and you're making them to suffer. Let us stop making our kids to suffer. If you have issues, let us go as the husband and the wife. Let us sort out our issues, but let us stop making kids to suffer. Let's man up.
Wow.
Yeah, and maybe before we go, I can see that a comment here that is welcoming people to Moyo FM.
Wow.
Grace Waja.
Yeah, we are starting a radio station.
Wow.
And
That is why there is a lot of Kikuyu.
yeah.
Moyo FM. That is where we'll be talking about the Ida.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're
Yes.
welcome, very welcome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Moyo FM will start running through from 1st December.
1st December.
Yes, to be 24 hours. And
Go to
Karibuni
Facebook
sana.
and like our page.
Yes.
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 Search for Moyo FM
Yes.
on Facebook, like the page,
Yes.
and keep up with the updates.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm
And-
telling you, it will be a station like no other.
and
Yeah.
also
It will be second to
YouTube,
none.
you can look for Moyo FM and subscribe.
And
Yes,
subscribe.
Yes.
please do that.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Reverend. Thank you very much, Undisputed.
Yes.
So I'll close by saying that fatherhood affects destinies, positively or negatively.
Yes.
It's an honor God has given you. Utilize that responsibility with humility and with honor. God bless you. Thank you very much for spending time to watch us. We apologize for the technical hitches, and there's a whole team working behind. We are only 3 men, but there's a whole team
Of men and women.
of men and women
Yes.
that is working behind the cameras and behind the scenes. And God bless you, team. We know it's not easy for you, and they're doing everything to ensure that this show comes to you. And we thank you for your patience with us, and may God bless you. And join us next week as we now dig deeper into fatherhood. God bless you and have a wonderful week. Reverend Gigi will be with us.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Yes, yes, yes.
He should be with us next
We
week.
missed you, Rev
Yeah,
Gigi.
we missed you, Reverend.
Yeah.
And for our viewers, God bless you.
God bless you.
Good night. See you next week on Monday.
On Monday. Yeah.
On Wema TV.
Yes.
Voice of hope.
Of hope. God bless you.